All right, fantastic. Welcome back. Lunch and Learn. We are Nate and Simone. We talk all things marketing, and today our topic is customer connections, brainstorming customer connections and building community with our customers. And we have in the room with us, we have Rick and we have Bethany. Although Bethany's not on camera, but it's all good. Love her anyway. And
Oh,
you
there
just,
she is.
hi, there you are. Hi. Welcome,
I'm
welcome.
eating lunch. Thank you.
Oh,
Welcome,
she's actually
welcome.
having lunch.
And those of you watching, if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to say hi in the live stream. And if you're watching the recording, put a comment in and tell us what you're doing to connect to your audience and to build community. And also subscribe, share, and like the video. All right. Now let's get to it.
Okay.
Where do we start, Nate?
Well, I guess to start off at the beginning, why would we want to build a community and why that matters for a brand? And one thing to take into consideration there is this digital shift. Everything is going online, digital marketing, et cetera, AI, the whole hullabaloo. It's kind of really transformed the way that brands, businesses interact with their audience, right? Some would say that it has simplified that, because it's reduced the friction in getting there. You don't have to hop in your car and drive somewhere to actually get in front of people. You can just do it from anywhere, literally, in theory. And so doing it purposefully, really having a plan around it would make sense in that case, right? Because it's all about you having the control and you kind of guiding your clients, your audience, into the path that you have laid for them. Look at it that way, I guess. Having a community can also create a way for that two-way dialogue, and it's not just about you pushing out a marketing message, right? Not, there's that one aspect of digital marketing is like you're pushing out ads, you're pushing out social media, and if you just kind of just push it out there, you're not engaging, then you're not really doing much to build a community around it, right? There's what is it like? A lot of people complain about what do they call them? I can't remember now, but basically people that go on LinkedIn and make a post and then disappear, right? Like,
Yeah, they're not really encouraging a two-way conversation. It's just, okay, let me just make an announcement. Let me drop something here and then leave.
yeah,
To
like
be honest,
social
I think I've
ghosting,
been
is that what it's
guilty of
called?
that on LinkedIn, but
Yeah,
not on
me too,
Facebook.
me too. Yeah. Um, but the idea here is that customers are likelier to support your brand if they feel that they're connected and you're giving them that sense of connection and personalization, so on and so forth. So the idea is that people don't just buy products, right? They invest in the experience with the brand, and so that can include
They
your
connect with
identities.
other people.
Yeah, if you have shared values, that's great, and you're building that community because that puts your brand at the center of those connections. So that's kind of the idea here. So now that we know that, how do we do this? How do we go about making meaningful connections and building a community? Um, so first, we just talked a little bit about engagement, the idea of engagement, right? You go on social media, you post something, and you ghost, you fly away, and you're not engaging. The alternative to that is that you actively engage, and a lot of the LinkedIn gurus will talk about this, right? You have to go on to the big guys' posts on LinkedIn and you comment on their posts. You're engaging with their posts, And the idea is that they see you, they comment on it, and it boosts your status in the algorithm because they have a high status. You're kind of riding their coattails to a certain degree. That's kind of the idea there.
Yeah.
And then other people that are posting on the same post are actually seeing you interact, and then they go and look and see who you are. So you'll find if you go and post on a big account, like you make a comment on someone's post, you'll see a lot of people looking at your profile, right, on LinkedIn. And so if you have everything set up properly on your LinkedIn profile and everything, it's a landing page, then people can find what they want there, maybe engage with you. Ideally, you're coordinating this with your own posting, right? And
Right.
then they engage on those, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of the idea. But it's not just about posting and making these AI generated comments, right? It's you need to get on there and actually do a start a conversation. That's the idea, right? Um, and I mentioned LinkedIn, but that's not the only place, right, that people are hang out online. There's lots
People
of
have
different
cracked this code
platforms,
on,
right?
yeah. I've been seeing people kind of using that type of cracking that code on Facebook as well. And they have been they putting their own comments on their own posts, and then when people comment on their comments, and of course putting their links in the comments, then their posts reach more people by doing that. And so
Yeah.
so having those having the comments, well, starting, you have a post and you're putting your own comments in, so then the algorithm sees that, oh, there's comments on this post, let me boost this up a bit more, and then other people will see, more people end up seeing the post, and then they start commenting, and that boosts it even more, and it just gets more and more engagement. And so you
Mhm.
end up with a more viral post than if you just put everything into the post itself and have no comments.
Yeah, and you run the risk if you put a link in the original comment or in the original post,
Yeah.
um,
They,
the
they
algorithm will actually
punish you for
shoot it
that.
down. Yeah, so
Yeah.
because
Because
they want to keep
because
people on the
basically,
platform. Yeah,
right, you're with a link, you're trying to take people off of the platform
right.
and take them into where you live. But the
But if you put
platform
it in the
wants you to keep
comments,
people on the platform. But on
if
the
you're putting it in
comments,
the
I
comments
guess you
though, that's
get
okay.
the link. You
Yeah,
get to post the link and the post gets a comment. So
yeah,
you're
yeah.
kind of killing two birds with one stone there.
And that would probably apply to most things, although Instagram doesn't allow you to do any kind of links really, except for the link in the bio. But it's a little bit different. Know who your audience is, where they live, where they spend time, and that kind of thing. I think that's key there. There's all kinds of ways that you can do audience research in that case if you haven't figured it out. But um, and then let's see here. So here's a question for you. How often do you interact with your audience without trying to sell them something?
That is, that's a good question. Um, I think more often than not, um, I am interacting with them without selling. And actually, in recent days, I am actually working on outsourcing the selling part. you know, and working on drawing people in. And, when they want to have the sales conversation, oh, sure, talk to somebody on my team,
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I am these days. But I'm actually in the process of setting up an intentional DM engagement process where I am reaching out to people on my friends list, especially Facebook. Facebook is like the place where I hang out. And I guess by me saying Facebook, you already know that I'm a person of a certain age.
Hmm.
So I'm engaging with people on my Facebook platform. I have, when when you reach out and people friend you and you friend them, sometimes like that's the end of it. But I don't want it to be the end of it. So I I have a new process that I'm about to put in place where when I friend somebody, I reach out to them and say hello in the DMs and see what we have in common. Maybe take a look at their profile. What are they posting? What can I comment on that they're posting about? Um, what do we have in common? What can we talk about? And so kind of going beyond the hey, this is what I do for a living. What do you do for a living? You know, let's see if we have any kind of strategic partnership uh you know any opportunities there, and then that's kind of the end of the conversation and we never see each other again, right? But if we are messaging each other in the DMs, the algorithm says, oh, you two actually like each other and you want to see each other's posts, and so it will show that person more of my posts and show me more of their posts. So I can be outright selling in my posts and having just conversations in the DMs, but
Yeah.
they're seeing both.
Yeah. That goes back to having your profile set up as a landing page, because inevitably if they're chatting with you in the DMs, they're going to click on your profile to see your profile, see what you're all about.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then
yeah,
let that do the selling for you, right? And then
exactly.
that's the concept of sales enablement tools, right? And having that already. If your marketing is
Making it
doing a good
easy.
enough job, it's making sales easy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they kind of get to know me as a person, and my profile tells them about what I do.
Yeah. Okay, so some tips here would be to use polls, do live sessions. You can do Q&A opportunities, maybe an AMA, ask me anything. I don't know, depends. And I guess Instagram stories may be a good one there, to kind of give short little updates on what's going on. I know somebody that does the majority of her selling through Facebook Lives. She's done it for years, and it drives her crazy because her audience now expects her to do at least an hour a day.
Right.
But
And once you set that precedent, people expect it.
but hey, it works,
Right. If it's
for
making
her.
sales, keep doing it. Right.
she
Double
has she
down.
has rabid fans to the point where they're like trying to find out where she lives so they can kind of
Wow.
yeah, gets kind of intense,
There's a
but
downside of having this great engaged audience, right?
yeah, there's always a downside to everything, right? But
Yeah.
LinkedIn groups is another place you might set up a group there, right? Create your own community, and get that going.
Mm.
All right, so once you have the concept, the conversation's going, what do you do next, right? So here you are trying to turn those connections into a loyalty, attaching them to your brand and keeping them around. And the advocacy is kind of like where you like the end result that you want to get to, where the people who are in your group are telling other people about what a great experience that they're having, and so that brings in
Mhm.
more people, right?
Yeah,
And it
absolutely.
becomes almost like a self-supporting system in that way. Um, and part of the reason is loyal customers, right? It's people who know you, like and trust you, right, are easier to sell to, and then once you've sold to them, then obviously it makes it that much easier to sell to them again. And it's a lot easier to keep a customer than it is to go and find a new one. It's a lot less expensive also, right? So
Absolutely.
um, ultimately, that's kind of what you're aiming for here. Ideally, you want to get out of that sort of like that conveyor belt rat race of having to track down leads, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
Mm.
And so yeah, encouraging them to participate. User-generated content is always a great thing. Testimonials, making, getting those really good reviews out of them. So another thing here would be to ways that you can go about building that advocacy might be exclusive programs, VIP memberships, loyalty rewards. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
All right.
Recognizing and rewarding your active community members, would be key. However you choose to do that. Be creative, come up with something interesting. And then maybe do public shout outs, spotlight features on the platforms for some of the really good user generated content that your community has created, something along those lines. I think right now, Skool is a huge community builder. If you're familiar with Skool, it's Skool, Skool communities. Yeah.
They're doing this great thing now where they're doing what's called school games.
Is that right?
And I guess they started doing that when Alex Hormozy jumped on board and became an investor. Where and I had heard about it before, but then then Alex Hormozy jumped on board, and it's become like this big thing. But we as when it comes to functionality, I use the one that's in GHL simply because I can automate I can automate my posts into the group and therefore stay consistent because that is one of the best ways to grow a community is to be consistent. I have a friend who has his audience online is over 1.5 million people. And the simple reason is he shows up every day, twice a day. And he's not jumping on his head. He's not like entertaining people. He's not doing, he's not the bodybuilder or anything like that. He's not doing anything. He's not doing anything outrageous. What is he doing twice a day? He's praying. He has a morning prayer and an evening prayer. And doing that every day has gained him a following of 1.5 million people. So now the challenge is to, well, how do you build a living off of that? How do you monetize? But right now, and the people they're very engaged. They, there's amens in the comments like every single day. There's lots of prayer requests, and he did a birthday party where just had a bunch of people come on Zoom to celebrate his birthday with him. That is gather a ton of people. When he's talking about business, it's almost like crickets. But if he's talking about like, hey, come celebrate my birthday with me, he got a ton of people to come and show up and celebrate with him and tell him how wonderful they think he is and how he just makes their day by showing up every day and praying.
Nice. Yeah, I mentioned my friend earlier. Who does the Facebook lives. She she's just there talking to people like they're best friends. I think that's part of it. Like she's just very engaging, very personable. Talking about she sells beads, and so it's like the latest bead kit that she has, and it's just her going around showing like her putting together the kits, by hand, showing the kind of behind the scenes action going on. People love that kind of stuff. So
well, and if she's been consistent with it, then she's become a part of their lives
every day for years and years.
And so people feel like she is a best friend. She is kind of like a best friend,
a parasocial
somebody
friend,
that they can count on. On way out there in social media land, right? But what's interesting is that, I learned this a few years ago, like even with all of our social media and all the technology that we use to connect us together, people are more lonely than ever. And
Mm.
so when we can get online and we can build these communities and not
Oh
only
yeah.
connect people with us, but a true community is when people are connected to each other,
Oh yeah.
then you really have something.
You're, anytime you can break down those walls and it just becomes human to human
Yes.
connection, it's no brainer. The other day I was on a call and somebody brought on their dog and was like, "Oh my gosh, you should have brought the dog out first. I would have been sold right away." Like,
Note to self, get a dog.
I mean, um, so it might be just that simple, right? But all right. So anyway, let's see here. So that's kind of like the groundwork, developing meaningful engagement. Now, how do we put it all into action here? So here's some tips. Social media groups. We mentioned LinkedIn groups, forums. We mentioned Facebook lives, things like that. I'm sure there's an endless array of places where you can do this. Skool was one we mentioned. Having exclusive community events, like we're doing lunch and learn here today, virtual coffee chats, another might be another one. Um, or have exclusive webinars for your top customers, even. You could
Yeah,
have communities within communities in that case, right? You can have like
that's true.
special communities. Um, Using storytelling is important here too. Builds that emotional connection. Bring your dog on, like whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Um, Whatever just kind of like it makes you seem. It breaks down that barrier, that technological barrier. Everyone's kind of separated out there in digital land, and with virtual backgrounds and everything like we have here. Um,
Right.
there's been studies that have said that if you do not use virtual backgrounds, that people trust you more, are more inclined to trust
Yeah,
you.
well, they can
So,
actually see inside your real environment.
right,
Yeah, that makes
you're
sense.
breaking it down even further, right?
Yeah, break down the
Pulling people
walls.
into your world.
Hmm.
Um, um, Collaborating with the audience is an idea. Collaborating on new ideas, opening it up to the audience to do brainstorming sessions, for example.
Hmm.
Products, you can do products that way or campaigns that way. There's a lot of companies that are going, sort of that way, where it's open source. Um, why not open source your next product, or your next campaign idea? Um, you can provide value with free resources, like do mini course. I think Rick was talking about doing a course, right? He was talking about doing that.
Yeah.
Mini course, ebooks, webinars, things of that nature. Nowadays everyone pretty much expects something for free. So you know, and if they're going to invest the time with you in your community, it's probably the least you could do, because their time is worth something, right? Everybody's time is worth something.
Yeah. Everybody's
Um,
time is worth something. But
yeah.
then there's
So,
always I guess there's different levels that you should probably do, right? You
yeah.
have a certain amount of community engagement that you put together, that you facilitate, that people can come to for free and get get access to each other, maybe get a little bit of access to you. But then, as we are business owners and entrepreneurs, um, we want to offer some exclusivity where that people are where we can offer more value, higher value, and give people the opportunity to invest in it in order to
Hmm.
get more.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Always think of ways that you can offer more,
Yeah.
for your customers, take them to the next level, right?
Yeah. And even in a community space, right? Because you can be in a, say, in a paid community, you can be putting together a specific group of people that, like a mastermind, you put together a specific group of people that are on a certain level that they pay into in order to get access to each other, so that they can all get together and grow higher,
Hmm.
where
Yeah.
everybody who's in a free group wouldn't necessarily be thinking and thinking on that level.
Yeah, I'm actually funny you say that because I'm involved with a group. I'll call it H7 networking group. I'm gonna do a shameless plug here and send you a link. Everybody wants to, if you want to join. This is a H7 huddle. It is a mastermind situation where you can come in and we talk about business operations, leadership, marketing, and finance. And we alternate the topics depending on the week. So I think this week we're talking about operations, if I'm not mistaken. So come join us if you want. Shameless plug over. Back to you. um,
Kind of marketers would we be if we never had a
yeah,
shameless plea?
yeah. Um, all right. So I have a activity, but I think we're running out of time here. So probably should wrap it up, I'm guessing. Um,
Mhm. Well, we do have a couple of people in the room.
yeah.
If anybody wants to come on camera and tell us about what they're doing in their community, are you building a community? Have you thought
Have you
about it?
thought about it?
Do you want to build one and need help?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay. Hey, this is Bethany. I am
Hi,
starting to
Bethany.
build a community. I'm doing a newsletter together talking about like grant development because everybody's looking for money, to help with their business and grow their business. We'll put a grant newsletter together. It's going to cover grants, a little bit of AI development as well. AI, so that's kind of still new to a lot of people. And
Mhm.
touch on women and AI a little bit. So it's going to cover a few things because I went to an AI conference not too long ago, and they were talking about there's not a lot of space out there or information on women and AI and gender and AI as far as when it comes to women. So I'm
Interesting.
building my newsletter as we speak.
Interesting. Okay.
Very cool. Okay. Now, can we talk about a difference between a community and a membership? Because I do
Yeah.
believe that there is a difference. Remember when we talked about like a true community is where people are connecting with each other, not just with the leader. And I think a membership is where you're bringing people in, and you're giving them access to content or to a course or to something, right? Or to you, but they're not necessarily connected to each other. So I'm thinking, Bethany, having that newsletter is more of a membership rather than a community. Now you can turn it into a community by bringing the people who subscribe to the newsletter onto a platform like Skool or like GHL, where they're consuming the content together kind of at the same time, and they're able to talk to each other about it, and they're able to interact with you about it and give and talk about their ideas and their reactions to your content. What do you think about that?
That sounds like a good idea. That's something different and it's
Yeah.
monetized as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, I like that too. And maybe even, we talk about user generated content. One of the things that I do with my newsletter group is I give them kind of the highlights of the lunch and learn meetings that we have during the week. the topics that we discuss, that becomes the topic of the newsletter, and and so any comments or insights may show up in there. Yeah, and user generated content. If people are creating posts, you could actually share those in the newsletter for engagement. That would be something to think about, doing it that way.
Yeah. And what's cool about that is that people do like to, they like to see themselves highlighted. You give them the
Right.
spotlight, they're going to shine even brighter. And that incentivizes them to interact more, because like, oh wow, he used my quote in the newsletter. I'm gonna give him some more quotes. I'm gonna send him some pictures. I'm gonna,
Right.
I'm gonna continue
Well,
to
and
interact.
the readers are going to be like, well, I don't want to be left out. So
Exactly. You're gonna get even more engagement because they don't want to be left out. They want to jump on that bandwagon. Like, hey, he highlighted that guy. I have a way better opinion than that guy. So let me jump in here and give mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So that's good. Anybody else? Communities, building a community, working on it. All right. One, I have like just a few case examples here, maybe to think about with the particular brands that are really good at building community. So one example I had was Peloton. Um, they're they've had some struggles here recently since their glory days during the COVID lockdown, but it's they're really good at building up a fitness community, right? Through their shared goals. They have those leaderboard features, social media challenges, gamification, getting people really bought into the whole ecosystem, right? They have a bike that you buy, and they have like subscriptions to coaches and all this. Like the whole thing is about the community, right? It would fall apart if it didn't have it. Um, and then I have a couple others on here. Can you think of any others, Simone, off the top of your head?
None off the top of my head. We do have one lady who joined us today. She's not on camera, but I worked with her to help her establish her community. And after it was established and she got in there and she started working with the people, she's a naturopath and a therapist. And I remember going in a couple of times and seeing people sharing recipes and talking about like the different things that have helped them. So I think it's going really well, and I love that it's that quick. People are willing to share their own insights and what they're learning and what they're doing, and they all want to help each other, which is fantastic. I see Kelvin has raised his hand. He wants to say something.
Yeah, Simone, I meant to
Hello.
actually, hi. I meant, Simone, to get connected to these types of meetings. But I wanted to share with you and the gentleman is I have a business going in financial literacy. Simone, what I do, I'm already connected through a site called Alignable. It's a free networking site. And then again, Simone, they have people, other networkers that share comments, what they're doing in business, comments, how they can improve or so forth. So I'm already connected. Alignable itself is all about community. And I was able to get on this free website through a close friend of mine, and we do networking together. We do Alpha Harmony Wellness. Simone, so she referred me last summer. And to this day, I'm more connected than ever with the Smart Connect Leads meetings. I'm doing my own thing, submitting comments. They're more interested in what I have to offer through my econ, financial strategies we offer online to help people, Simone, become better stewards of their finances. So based on what you and this gentleman were sharing, I'm already doing this on a weekly basis.
So So the one thing I would say with that is it sounds like, maybe you can correct me, but it sounds like you are joining other people's groups
Yes.
and connection meetings, but you are
Yes.
not creating your own group. Is that correct?
No. No.
Okay.
No.
So you might want to consider creating your own group. That way you have it's more about you, and you are kind of sort of like orchestrating the experience there. That's kind
Okay.
of what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Okay.
Setting that up yourself, you get, people coming into that group, and then you can kind of orchestrate what people are talking about. I agree, Alignable is good for doing that because they have these group features that, in theory, are built exactly for this purpose, to try to make it easy for people to interact with each other, use generated content, et cetera, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Sure.
My experience is that, inexplicably, people will join a group and then you never see them post in there, and I don't know what that is. I have not quite cracked the code yet on how to get people really motivated and Alignable, but inside the groups themselves. But maybe if you figure it out, you can let us know.
Sure.
I
Sure.
feel like that on LinkedIn too.
Yeah,
I joined a few groups, and I feel like my I feel like I go in there and there's just not much interaction. I see people posting and people liking, maybe liking posts, but people aren't commenting and they're not like
yeah,
starting discussions and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of groups like that on Facebook too. But every so often you'll find some groups that are really, really very engaged. And
yeah,
so I guess, and maybe it takes time. But yeah, like Nate said, when you start the group yourself, you set the tone, you set the culture, and you decide what that group is like, and what the community is really built around.
Okay. All right.
yeah. I suspect that it has a lot to do with consistency. That's my guess, but
Hmm.
yeah, if you're showing up, you're being consistent, people are more likely to kind of follow suit. I
Yeah.
think so.
We have
Yeah.
chats. Yeah, we have the chat. They meet in the chat rooms. It's like two in a
Yeah.
chat room. That's how
Yes.
Alignable works. Yeah.
Yes. 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 Yeah. But there's also, like the actual group itself, where you can go in and do it. It's almost like a Facebook group in that case, the way they have it set up.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
am I correct in assuming that that means that you have not participated in a discussion inside of a group
Well, actually,
unalignable?
yeah, Nate, what it is they would have like these leads train meetings. They call it Smart Connect. They would share
Right.
how they're going to go about doing this because it's all about building relationships, rather than community. And based
Yeah.
on that, they would break us into two
Hmm.
groups. They would have icebreakers, and then they break us into two groups. Well, actually, two groups of two.
Yeah.
I go
Okay.
in there, I'm in connected with one person or this, gentleman or lady. They have a network marketing thing going on. I have my econ that we share
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So that with the Smart Connects, this lady or, gentleman, they normally lead these meetings, how they want this to go about and building
Yeah.
relationships, which will
Yeah.
lead to us discussing, Nate, our businesses together.
Hmm.
They want
Yeah.
us to
I
build
understand.
relationships and community that
Yeah.
follows.
Yeah. I understand. I guess my thing is like just the group itself, the group chat. It's a little bit different. I think right now, I think it has a lot to do with trends too. What people are think is the next hot thing, right? And Skool, I think Skool is good for that right now. I think it's an extremely popular platform for building communities. If you haven't checked that out, Skool,
Hmm. Yeah.
Skool.com.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Something you might want to look into that. It's
Okay,
interesting.
thanks. I will. Thank you.
I set up the one I set up for Celeste and for myself. I set up on my GHL platform. GHL is Go High Level for those who don't know, and it's built. They've taken what Skool has done and they built it into High Level. but they've expanded on it. So some of the things that they've included, like the functionality that Skool has, but then they also, but they're, because it's built into the high level platform, therefore it has access to all the other tools that high level has. And so, so you can do even more with it. The only thing that it doesn't have is that personality, the Alex Hormozy personality behind it, right?
Right.
Which
Yeah.
makes a big difference for a lot of people. It's attractive
That's yeah.
when you're finding, as we're talking about, right? Building that community and setting the tone and and creating that culture. He creates a culture around, his own philosophy and how he works. So people follow that. And the same with ClickFunnels and Russell Brunson, right? Russell Brunson is that marketing personality that and he teaches you how to market. And so people follow that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of these.
That's the culture.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So
All righty. So let's do a wrap up. What did we learn today?
yeah, so I think we talked about community building and how it's important today in the digital world today, right? I think that's kind of where we started off, and um, being purposeful about your engagement helps build those connections. Not just posting and ghosting, as they say. That's what it is, the posting and ghosting.
Don't post and ghost, people. Yeah. The
um,
interaction is key. Consistency
yes,
is key.
yep,
Otherwise your community will stagnate.
yep.
And we also talked about there's a difference between having a membership and having a
hmm
community.
One way
The
versus two
key
way, right?
difference, right? Key difference is one way versus two way, right? Are you disseminating information, but they can't interact with you? Or are you putting out information, they can interact with each other and they can interact with you? So
Right.
that's the difference there.
Finding out who your target audience is, where they are, and meeting them there. I think that's kind of the idea. Um, uh,
Absolutely.
that advocacy, getting those people to tell other people about you, then kind of springs up naturally. Within if the community is strong, it's just kind of inevitable.
Mhm.
You won't be able to get away from it, I guess. And so taking steps to create those and nurture and grow your community is what you want to what we're all about here, right? It's what today's topic is about. So
Absolutely. One thing, did we talk about feedback, gathering feedback?
yeah, well, not really. I mean, it's kind of implied. One of
Yeah.
the suggestions talked about doing polls to
Mm-hmm.
kind of engage the community, but feedback is, asking people, hey, what do you think about this? Maybe that would be part of the poll, right?
Which
Potentially.
is key. 'Cause people like giving their opinion. So one of the things that I think one of the things that makes some communities really great to be a part of is that you're able to post something in there that says, "Hey, give me your feedback on this," right?
hmm
Should I use this banner or this banner, this book cover or this book cover, that kind of thing. And
hmm
people like to give their opinion, and so that brings engagement. But not only for the participants to say, "Hey, let me find out about or let me ask everybody what they think about my thing," but also the community leader asking the community members what they think about the community and what would make it better for them, what's working and what's not working. That's
Yeah.
always great feedback.
And the key there is doing it in real time, right? That's that part of that engagement situation.
Yeah, absolutely. You get it in real time. Yeah. All
I think
righty.
that
So
pretty much
that's
checks the
all we got
boxes.
for today. Thank you for coming and for being a part of the discussion. And we will see you next week. I don't know what our topic is next week, but we'll be here next week.
Um, I can tell you if you
Okay.
want.
Nate
Let's
is
see
the keeper
here.
of the topics, y'all.
Do I have that available? Hold on. It might be. Oh, shoot. Um, yeah, okay. Well, it's tucked away here.
At any rate, it'll be a good one. So,
Yeah.
so see you back here next week. Same time, same channel.
Oh, analytics for better decision making. That's what we're talking
Oh, there we go.
about.
Making decisions by the numbers, not by our emotions.
Yeah.
Yes. All righty. Have a wonderful week, and thank you for you on YouTube for watching, and see you next week too.